How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Set 6, and today we have got something that I missed a few weeks ago, Chapter 6 of The First Soldier from Ever Crisis. Now, over the last few days, a lot of the videos have been getting views, people have been catching up on The First Soldier from Ever Crisis, and people pointed out to me, oh, there's a Chapter 6, have you done it? Well, now we've done it, and my god, it was a painful experience. We'll talk about it later, but don't forget, hit like on the video, subscribe for future content, because this video has kept me away from Rebirth for a substantial amount of time. So, you know, give me some love. But let's crack on with it. So, in the previous chapters of The First Soldier, we'd seen how the survey team, Team Glenn, was sent out to the Redoran Archipelago. We met Rosen and Rifu, who were chilling on one of the outer islands, and then we headed into the main island. We dealt with the Redoran troops, we met Sephiroth, and we cleared the area. And this chapter, Chapter 6, continues 10 days after securing the island. And Shinra are setting up for a dig to install a small-scale Mako reactor. And that's where we're at, that's all commencing on the Redoran Archipelago. Now during this time, Glenn and the others watch the white smoke rising from the chimney that Rosen tends to, a signal sent to people who aren't listening anymore. And we rejoin the party with the dig about to start, with the party, but mostly Sephiroth, having cleared the Redoran resistance from the island. We also see talk about money again, something that's come up a fair bit in The First Soldier around Glenn, and it might be something worth keeping an eye on. I think it's trying to drive home that he's quite materialistic, maybe not necessarily materialistic, but dependent upon that side of existence, as we all are. The chief engineer then informs us about monsters that are wandering near the engineer's quarters, so we head off to clear them out, but not before learning about Sephiroth running around scavenging the corpses of the fallen Redorans. So we head off to kill monsters and ask Sephiroth to stop being weird, basically. And this is where the annoyance with this video begins, because this is where the grind begins. From about 65,000 power we had to grind up to 92,000, and this took a long time. Like, this took a hell of a long time. I'll give you all the details at the end of how long this actually took, but this took a long time. So, again, if you're not subbed, please click the sub button. Just justify my existence and this video's existence. Do it, please. But we got there in the end, and we set off in search of monsters and Sephiroth. So, just monsters. We then find a materia fragment on the ground, and we learn about them small pieces of materia that have shattered and are unusable other than to throw at monsters like a shiny rock. We hunt around a bit more and we find Sephiroth, and the party finally ask him what does he think he's up to looting all these corpses. Now, as a Dungeons & Dragons player, I get it completely, they might have some shiny loot. We catch Sephiroth red-handed, elbow deep in Redorans, but he explains that he's searching for the necklace with the picture of his mother, Genova, in it. He must have dropped it during the initial raid, and he's been searching for it since. So this makes a little bit more sense now, Sephiroth's slightly less creepy. When I first heard that this was what he was doing, I thought he was doing some weird Hojo side quest, you know, like a fetch quest or something like that. But no. He's trying to find his necklace, so that's fine. Matt then questions the reducing number of bodies in the ruins, which Sephiroth grimly explains is due to the monsters in the area eating the corpses. He also points out to the group that they've been slacking in the last few days and have let their guards down, as he kills a monster that's creeping up on the group. And then we have another fight and a little bit of Team Glenn banter, and Glenn points out that he isn't awful to his team, just awfully memorable. To which Sephiroth points out he may just be afraid of being forgotten. Bit rich. The locket search continues, with Glenn and Matt discussing the low Redoran population, and before the attack it's obviously a low population, now it's Rosen. Damn. But yeah, Glenn muses on why they didn't have a better relationship with Shinra. With the abundance of Mako that they've got here, they could have had a great deal, been more comfortable and potentially even thrived as a people, but instead, they don't exist anymore. Glenn doesn't get why using Mako's bad. He's not really pieced it together. And another fight ensues, and then Matt explains that the Redorans have beliefs that kind of fall in line with planetology. And this is the general framework that's laid out to us in the OG by Bugenhagen in Cosmo Canyon, which is where, when life dies, its spiritual energy returns to the planet and the life stream in order to birth new life in the future. And Matt goes on to explain that, to them, Mako is a resource, but to the Redorans, it's literally the essence of life. And that's why they don't want to consume it in the manner that Shinra does. They don't want to use the essence of life to give themselves a more comfortable existence. Sephiroth then comes in with some wisdom from Hojo, who says no matter how logically you explain something, there'll always be people who don't understand, because they have a different view of the world. Glenn's still confused by this. He still views Mako as a resource to be used, and he points out that for all their beliefs around Mako, their unwillingness to live with convenience has led to them being wiped out, all except Rosen, and that by the time the reactor's finished, no one will remember the Redorans. But Sephiroth responds with, the planet will, at least that's what they believe, which helps Glenn to understand it in his own way. But if Mako continues to be consumed, eventually the planet will forget the Redorans ever existed. The four of them then take a moment to pay their respects to the fallen Redorans, honouring their memory. As the group continues searching for the necklace, Glenn suggests they bury the body of the Redorans as a form of apology, which the group agree to do. But while the group are burying the Redoran soldiers, the dig begins, and the group have got to leave the island as soon as possible. Now Sephiroth explains that this is due to a previous dig where a chain reaction occurred, decimating the local area and leading to a catastrophe that we've heard of before from Rosen, a mana torrent. Since then, everybody leaves the dig. Now on the way back we do come across some obstacles, and Sephiroth shows the usefulness of the materia fragments that we found earlier. As long as you know how to use them, you can get a degree of power from them, and he uses them to proceed to clear a path forwards for the group. Now the closer and closer we get to the evacuation point, Glenn begins to think about Rosen and what's going to happen to him if a mana torrent is triggered. And we see the white smoke coming from the chimney again, even though the only people left to see it are the Shinra troops. Once we reach the evacuation point, Glenn tries to delay the dig in order to get Rosen out of there or get a message to him or something, but the dig's already started, so this is impossible. Even after Glenn threatens the engineer and basically assaults him, it's not possible. So, Team Glenn do what Team Glenn are clearly going to do, and they pretty much begin to commandeer a chopper in order to go and save Rosen. But as that happens, the area is attacked by a giant mutated creature. Stamp. Now, if you remember from the previous chapters, our old friend Stamp has been chasing us around since chapter 2, 3? Maybe 3, but he's been chasing us for a while, and now he's back, and he's got some funky upgrades. And my god, the grind for this fight was ludicrous. Now, all in all, for both of the big grind points, we had to go from around 65,000 power to 127,000 power in order to get this fight won. It probably consumed about 6,000 stamina over the course of 2 days of grind up to this point, and I still barely cleared it. So, yeah, pretty annoyed. That's all time that I could have been playing Rebirth, and genuinely it was about 6 or 7 hours that I've had to spend over the last couple of days just to grind up to this point. So, again, subscribe. Anyway, we kick Stamp's big gnarly teeth in eventually, and then we rush over to the chopper to get to Rosen. The group wonder how fired they're going to be from Shinra, and if Sephiroth's in trouble as well, before telling him to stay safe, and they sprint off to the chopper. A ladder gets lowered down by the chief engineer for Sephiroth, but Sephiroth kind of hesitates for a moment, looks back over towards the group, looks up at the chopper, and then runs off towards the group. Sephiroth and Glenn have a little bit of a moment, and Sephiroth says that he'd love to see Shinra try firing him, and then the chapter closes. So, pretty interesting chapter. We're definitely seeing the change of Glenn coming from a position of being your general Shinra dependent citizen. You know, someone who is dependent on Mako energy, dependent on the company for everything. And he seems to be moving away from that stance and starting to understand a little bit more about the mechanics of the planet and how it works and how life energy is crucial to the planet continuing to live. I'm also enjoying the not being forgotten and merely becoming a memory parallels that we're getting between Sephiroth and Glenn. And it's looking very interesting. It's very much looking like we're going to see some sort of interaction between Glenn and Sephiroth at some point. But yeah, that is the chapter. That is chapter 6. We're waiting on chapter 7. I would assume that's something that goes down in Rebirth maybe will inform Chapter 7 or something like that. But one thing that I am going to say is if you've played Rebirth, or if you've been spoiled, or if you've watched someone else play Rebirth, do not leave any spoilers in the comments to this video, because you will immediately be muted from the channel and banned. That's all I'm going to say. I've already done it for about 4 or 5 people, and I will continue to do it. So just be nice. Be nice. But that's the end of this one. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like and sub, because my god, this was a lot of effort. I'm going to play Rebirth now, but more importantly than that, no, actually no, there's nothing more importantly than that. I'm going to go and play Rebirth. You should do the same. Peace.